Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about our fifth woodwind instrument, and this is the contrabassoon. The contrabassoon is twice the length of a regular bassoon, therefore it is 1 octave lower, and it's pretty big. On your little quiz you have a picture of the contrabassoon player for the Spokane Symphony, who's a friend of mine. His name's Luke. And he named his instrument, its name is Hagrid, and that seems appropriate. Yeah, it's a really cool sound with the full symphony. It's been around for a long time, but it wasn't used in formal situations like in a formal symphony until Beethoven. Beethoven was the first major Western composer to write a separate part for the contrabassoon in a major orchestral work. So since then, it's pretty commonly used. Sometimes if it's not even in the score, they will take the second bassoon part and just drop it an octave. That puts it in the same register or sound where it sounds as the tuba. And for a woodwind instrument to be that low it takes a lot of air, and the reed is pretty big. But yeah, it gets way down there, and it sounds quite neat for a large instrument. If you look at how they're made, if you were to have one that was completely straight, it would be too long for you to reach. And most modern ones go from the reed, they go way down, and then they come back up, and they go down again, and then they come halfway up again, and that's where the bell is. So they kind of look like a paperclip. So a lot of times, people say, "What are you playing on this concert?" "Oh, I'm playing the paperclip." And so they know that means that you're doing contrabassoon. The modern contrabassoon is different than the one that was used in Baroque and classical and even into the Romantic era. There was a man who designed regular bassoons, and he was very well known, and his instruments are prized throughout the world. His name was Wilhelm Heckel, and he redesigned the modern contrabassoon into this paperclip shape, and he kind of gets the credit. It makes playing in tune a lot easier. Yes, you could take one of those old instruments and play it in tune, but it required so much more skill. With the modern instruments and the way the keys work and how they're constructed of the correct materials, it's just a lot easier to do. So Heckel bassoons are kind of the worldwide standard. If you look at a bassoon and you straighten it out, it's going to be 7 or 8 feet long. If you look at a contrabassoon and straighten it out, it's 15 feet long. So you can see why they wanted to make that a little shorter. It becomes quite unwieldy if it's that length, like they used to be in, the earlier times, like, Mozart or Telemann. But they didn't write for them because, again, the instrument was impossible to play in tune. It was just huge. Bassoon uses the same kind of reed as an oboe, and the contrabassoon uses a double reed, just like the regular bassoon. However, they're bigger. They're much larger because the amount of actual cane that has to vibrate, there's more of it. So usually by the time you get to where you're playing a contrabassoon, you've learned how to make your own reeds, and then you just buy the cane blanks, is what they're called, and you can make your own. Contrabassoon is pitched in the key of C, like a piano, like a violin, like a flute. Okay, so if you see a written A on a contrabassoon part, it's an A. Some other instruments, like a B-flat trumpet or an E-flat alto saxophone, they have different transpositions to worry about. For contrabassoon, all you have to worry about is making the sound really low and knowing all the crazy fingerings. Because it's so big, a contrabassoon weighs quite a bit. You can play it standing up. I wouldn't recommend it. But typically it's played seated, and it's got a little peg on the bottom, a floor peg, which supports the weight of the instrument. If you did try to stand up, there's nothing much other than what they call a crutch on the side of the instrument to support the weight and your neck. And these are not nice instruments to play standing. So, like again, typically they're seated and use the floor peg. It was used in orchestral music by Beethoven first. It was used in church music a little earlier, the early 18th century, so early 1700s. And it's been featured by composers pretty much since then. That's kind of when it was still the large, long 15-foot thing, but composers liked the sound of getting that really low bass woodwind. So it's been in use for quite a long time, because now it's the early 21st century. So it's been going on for 300 years or so. Okay, we are now going to listen to a wonderful little tune called Variations on the Happy Farmer. She missed the low note. Here comes the cadenza, where she gets to show off a little bit. Excellent. Okay, so that is the Happy Farmer. And no, we don't need the Verbo ad. We live in a resort town. You can just go next door. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Next week we'll start looking at percussion instruments.